Hey guys, welcome back to We're Gonna Make You Watch, our little run through of the Halloween franchise. As you can see, we've changed clothes, we've taken a break.
Almost a week break.
Yeah, almost a week. We took a little time off and now we're back at it, and we are plowing through this Halloween franchise in all of the fantastic ways that you would expect a couple of fucking horror nerds to do so.
Yep.
So we have arrived at probably a lot of our listening audiences. I don't know why I feel like this would be the case, but I feel like that the most people that are going to be checking out this episode, this might be one of their first movies, Halloween movies that they maybe experienced in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I think that. Maybe it's because it's kind of I don't know. I don't know why I think that. Maybe that was
It was mine. It was my first time in the theater. Yeah.
I was starting to second. I was like, maybe that did sound dumb, and it probably did. And if it did, fine. Yeah, this aside of seeing Halloween 2 in theaters at a aggressively young age, this was mine as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw it a few times in the theaters. Mainly thanks to the Dollar Theater that was close to the base that I was stationed at. This movie is honestly, I didn't realize this, but this is actually kind of a divisive entry.
Yes.
And I kind of had the idea that for the most part, people just kind of liked this entry. But now that I'm looking at it, I'm surprised to see that is far from the case.
Mm-hmm.
It's only 56% by the critics and 49% by the audiences. Where do you stand in that category?
So this movie is kind of weird for me. Okay. Obviously, like I mentioned, it's the first one I saw in the theaters. My cousin took me for my birthday because it came out in August of '98, and so I was still under 16 at that time, so I couldn't get a ticket for myself. So my cousin took me, and you know, it's weird because for me especially, it doesn't feel like a Halloween movie. It's definitely feels like a Scream movie, which Kevin Williamson involved, and
Yeah, he
you
wrote the
got
original treatment for this film.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you've got the Marco Beltrami score as
Yep.
well, so it doesn't sound like a Halloween film.
Nope.
Obviously, other than the very first scene, it doesn't take place in Illinois anymore. We're in California. Right. So more of it feeling like Scream.
Yep.
And honestly, this one, other than the first scene, the mask looks fucking terrible throughout the movie.
Absolutely.
Honestly,
terrible.
I think it's worse than Halloween 4.
I don't entirely disagree with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just because
it's bad.
The first scene, they used the Halloween 6 mask, and they should have used it throughout the whole movie.
I don't know why they didn't.
Because it's a great looking mask. Like we talked about in the last episode, that's my personal favorite Halloween mask for, the franchise. And the fact that they started with it was, it was a great start. Honestly, that whole opening was great, but it was pretty downhill pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
When I first saw it, I loved it because it was the first Halloween movie I saw in the theater. So obviously I had kind of those rose tinted glasses when I first saw it.
Same.
That quickly faded for me. And I don't hate the movie.
Right.
If it's on, I'll watch it, but it's not one I frequently go back to rewatch.
Same.
Hardly at all. I mean, the story is okay. They were hyping it up pretty big when it was about to come out, with Jamie Lee coming back and all that.
And that's why. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, it definitely had a good amount of hype, but execution-wise, I just don't think it was the greatest. It's just, I don't know. It's kind of a weird one for me. Like, honestly, with the Halloween franchise, there isn't really one movie I honestly hate. other than one that we'll talk about here shortly.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, for the most part, I can watch any of them. There's just this one's just a little weird and
yeah.
doesn't feel like a Halloween movie to me.
Out of all of the Halloween movies, I will say this is not the worst entry.
No.
This is easily the one I watched the least.
Okay.
It's easily the one I watched the least. Um, for and here's the reasons why. When I first and I'm right there with you. When I first saw this movie in the theaters, I was fine with it. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. Um, I my issues that I had with the movie and the ones that I have now are different. I'm just of course I'm so much older now. I mean, it's we're talking about this movie came out in '98, so this is
Hmm.
26-year-old movie. I'm
Yep.
26 years older than when I saw it, so I've changed. Um, God damn, I'm old. Anyway, when the things that I didn't like about the movie when I first saw it was I hated the performance of the Shape. I believe it
Yeah.
was Chris Durand played the Shape,
Yep.
and I hated it. I did not like the way that he played the Shape at all. Hated it. Thought it sucked. Um, his movements were not uh, on par with anything we had seen from. Honestly, up to this point, we've had some relatively good performances, with the exception of Part Five,
Yeah.
because George Wilbur was a good shape. Dick
Hmm.
Warlock, Nick Castle, obviously those are the OGs. Um, and they've all had their differences, their little nuances, their things with differences. And this guy had his own impression and his own idea of what he wanted to do, and I hated it. I didn't like it. But the mask fucking sucks, with the exception of the opening sequence. Yeah, the opening shot
Yeah.
stuff. I hate it. There's odd moments where it looks like they digitally enhanced it. Um,
Yeah. They did a digital mask, and that was fucking
it
a
looks so
wrong
bad,
move.
and I can't believe that made the final cut. Like, I can't believe that they looked at that and they were like, "Cool." It's just fucking weird, man. Dimension was
Yeah.
odd, and when they got the rights to the movie, they really shit out some fucking turds. Um, uh, but they the things that I don't like about this movie now that I'm older is I fucking hate the story.
Yeah.
Um, I hate it. It sucks. It's just so stupid. He just happens to show up when he's 17, like she was 17.
Right.
Um, I do not like the traveling across the fucking country in a stolen fucking couple cars. Uh,
Hmm.
it's so bad, dude. It's so fucking bad. Now the thing that I
Yeah.
do like, Jamie Lee gives this movie her all, and
Yeah.
she's fucking fantastic in it. But that's like saying the sky is blue. I mean, she's pretty much
Right.
just awesome. So I love the Lori portrayal in this. I think that's good. I think it's solid. Um, I like Josh Hartnett. I like John. I like for most part. I like his character. Kind
Yep.
of acts like your typical 17-year-old kind of punk that's tired of being kind of over, hovered on by an overprotective
Coddled.
mother. Yeah, coddled. Thank you. Um, the rest of the characters, even his girlfriend, I'm like, whatever.
They're very forgettable.
Yeah, very forgettable. Um, there's a LL Cool J. I love LL Cool J, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I I don't think that he even needed to be in this fucking movie, man. Like,
No.
I, and he's funny because he's funny. He's just charismatic. So when he's on screen, I don't hate it because I love LL Cool J. But he
Yeah.
didn't need to be in this movie. It was very much a hey,
No.
we need to throw a
Another big name in
popular
here.
guy in this movie. maybe they might have even been like, hey, we need to throw some diversity in here, and I'm all for that totally. But I just feel like he didn't even need to be in this movie. His character
Right.
almost feels like an afterthought in a way.
Yeah.
Um, but he
It
makes the
definitely
most of
felt.
it.
Yeah, it definitely kind of feels like he was just kind of like they had their script and they're like, oh, we should add, this character in here.
Yeah,
And it's just kind of seems like they just kind of quickly wrote him in
yeah.
for more screen time to add to the movie, that kind of thing.
And they could put
But
him on the poster, and then
yep,
boom, LL Cool J, hey, one of the greatest rappers of all time. Uh, it was very popular at the time, and I mean,
yeah,
he's still popular. It's LL fucking Cool J. Um, but yeah, they just they needed to capitalize on that, and that's fine.
mm-hmm.
But the final confrontation between the two of them is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
There's some pretty damn good moments, and then everybody knows the ending is she chops his head off. I got to use the air quotes because she chops a head off, and ironically, I was talking to the my girlfriend at the time, who ended up becoming my wife, my first wife. When we watched the movie, she was like, "Well, are they going to make another one?" And I was like, "Yeah, they totally could." And she was like, "Well, how could they do that?" And I literally said, "Oh, well, they could. He never, they never really say that it's him. He it could have been anybody in the man. He never really attacks her at the end because he doesn't. I literally said, oh well, he could just he could have knocked somebody out, put somebody else in the mask, and then made it so they couldn't talk somehow."
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, and then because he like reaches up and tries and feels his head, I literally called it perfectly
Yeah.
for how they end up bringing him back in the next movie. And it's so funny because, by the time the next movie had come out, um, we were already we were already fucking divorced. That's how our
Oh,
marriage was. We were already fucking divorced,
wow.
and we she called me. She was like, "Holy shit, you fucking called it!" Like you said, that's exactly what you said they would do to bring him back. And I was like, "Yeah, it's pretty predictable." Um, yeah, this movie's. I don't really care much for it. It's definitely not like I
No,
said, it's not the worst entry in this franchise.
no,
Okay,
no.
there's definitely a worse movie or two
Mm-hmm.
that are not as good. But to me, is one I heartily, I do not want. This is probably my least watched in the entire franchise, because it just. And this will sum it up. I said a lot, and I could have really just said this. This doesn't feel like a Halloween movie at all.
Yep.
It does not. This
It
does
doesn't even
not
feel like
feel.
it's in the Halloween season at all.
No, it doesn't. It does not feel like a fucking Halloween movie at all.
No,
Not one bit.
no.
So no, I think did things to try to make it feel like it. Like there was some stalking type sequences, where he
Yeah.
was stalking Michelle Williams' character. I mean, woo. Yeah, it's this movie really. I know it's pretty divisive, but I've just more and more been in the camp that I just don't care for it. I don't think it's very good. It's a shame. It's directed by Steve Miner, who directed Friday 2 and 3.
Yep.
I mean, he's a good filmmaker. He even has a Hitchcock-esque cameo in the movie.
Yeah.
He went on to make Lake Placid after this was just a fucking banger.
Mm-hmm. But then he
Um,
also made the Day of the Dead remake
he
after
did.
that. So
I know.
so
That's
two
so
misses
bad.
there.
Yeah,
But
that's so
yeah,
bad.
the last thing I'll say with regards to this movie is that when it came out, the thing I remember when I was seeing it is it just felt kind of jarring because we had come off of obviously the three Thorn
The Thorn trilogy, yeah.
movies. The first thing I noticed in the movie is why is Michael's hands not burnt anymore? Does he look
Right?
like a normal person again?
Yeah.
So that kind of took me out of it a little bit because obviously at that time we didn't really know that they were completely rebooting this and doing something new and just going off of 1 and 2 and then H2O versus, and just completely forgetting about 4, 5, and 6. So
Right.
nobody really knew at the time that was happening. So that kind of felt kind of jarring as well, and that also, I think, kind of hurt it at the same time, at least for me. Other people may have different opinion, but for me, it kind of hurt it a little bit. It kind of took me out of it, on top of the kind of the other stuff that we talked about. So
I think we've beat this horse enough. We've beat this dead horse enough. Let's grade it,
yeah.
man. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, so I'm kind of stuck between either a C- or D+ for this movie, because it's not terrible, but it's not good either. And I definitely like Part 6 higher than this, with regards to where it sits in my rankings. It's Part 6 is like right above this one, so
I get you.
it's definitely lower. But yeah, I'm probably gonna settle on. Let's go C- on it, because it isn't a terrible movie. It does have some redeeming things in it, but it's just not good.
Yeah, I'm actually sliding just right barely above you. That's kind of funny because it doesn't sound like I would have given it. I'm actually just right flat C. It's a C. This is, to me, such a painfully average horror movie. There's nothing spectacular about it other than the fact that they got Jamie Lee Curtis to come back and play this role after almost 20 years.
Yeah.
That's literally it for me. But honestly, if you take that out of the equation and you just boil it down and you just grade it for what it is, for me, this just turns out to be just a very average slasher film.
Yep.
So yeah. Okay. Well, there you guys have it. Halloween H2O, our thoughts, our opinions of it. Let us know what you guys think in the comments. And thanks for hanging out with us as we plow through the entire Halloween franchise this Halloween season for you guys. Next episode, we'll be talking about Halloween Resurrection. I'm sure we're going to have some things to say about that. So thank you guys so much. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode.